if you look at Ukraine and you look at Taiwan, Taiwan's a much easier target than Ukraine.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, the military of Ukraine is larger. They have more equipment. They have a larger population. They have they've been under Soviet occupation. During the Cold War, they were controlled by the Soviet Union. Taiwan hasn't been under the CCP. But on the other hand, the Taiwanese, have had the U.S. There, and they know what they want to maintain a democracy. So if you just look at the comparison, like some people say, well, Taiwan's an island, so it's easy for the PLA to surround it and go in. In other words, if you look at Ukraine, yes, Russia's been able to surround it, but not all parts of Ukraine. For example, there's a border with Poland, and I think another country as well, maybe Romania, and those are NATO countries. In the case of Taiwan, there is no country next, connected to it that could come to its aid immediately. Japan is close, but it's not connected, via landmass. So,
yeah, I mean, the U.S. has troops stationed in the most southern part of Japan, which is Okinawa.
Correct.
Isn't that useful for a Taiwan invasion?
It is if we make the decision to send them to Taiwan. It doesn't do, just like we have military troops in Germany and we move them to Romania or to Poland. We still didn't send them to the Ukraine. Now, there were some National Guardsmen in the Ukraine for a little bit, and they left before the conflict started. But we have to make the decision to move them there. That's the critical. We also have military personnel in Guam. We have people in Hawaii. But we can have them close by. But being close by doesn't necessarily make a difference, as we saw in the case of Ukraine.
It's interesting that one of the things that Putin kept saying about Ukraine is that, I'll promise not to invade if you promise never to let Ukraine join NATO. And so he was trying to put NATO and these Western countries in this kind of catch-22 where they're afraid that they're going to essentially trigger a war by helping Ukraine. And I think that's similar in a lot of ways to what the Chinese Communist Party is trying to put the US or Japan, these other countries in a position where they're like, well, if you put troops near Japan or near Taiwan or on Taiwan, or if you say you're going to help Taiwan in some way, if you change the name of your, the Economic and Cultural Office from Taipei to Taiwan, then, we're going to have something to say about it. Like basically trying to make us too afraid to do anything until it's too late.
It's a good strategy. Like we don't want war, but if you do these things, we're going to be forced to. It's on you.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like elementary school when you've got that kid who's like swinging his arms around and he's like, and he gets closer and closer and he's like, if you don't back out of my way, you're going to get really badly hurt. And like, but like everyone in elementary school knows that guy is the crazy one, right? Right. It's not like your fault for not backing away. It's their fault for being like an insane bully who's swinging their arms around.
But then, you don't want to provoke the bully. I think that's what they're going for. I don't think they care if people think they're crazy.
But the arms are already swinging. How much more provoking can you do?
Yeah, I think you're both right. That again, it's all about deterrence. They're deterring us from taking action so that they can continue their actions. And, we have to figure out a way to make it clear that they shouldn't invade Taiwan. And let me just mention just one side note on Taiwan. Everyone thinks about Taiwan as kind of like the it, but as you probably know, the CCP has claimed ownership of the South China Sea, and Taiwan is part of the South China Sea. So taking Taiwan has become a focus, which is important, but it's not the whole picture. They view Taiwan as an entry point into the South China Sea. Once they take Taiwan, then the next step, in my opinion, is the rest of the South China Sea. What is the Philippines or Vietnam or Malaysia going to do about it?
Well, it's certainly clear that dictators are never satisfied. And I know you've asked, if Hong Kong was for breakfast and Taiwan is for lunch, what's for dinner?
Exactly. And so thank you. I anticipate that next step is the South China Sea, because it has such a large amount of gas and oil reserves. They call it their Persian Gulf. It has a large percentage of the world's shipping lanes go through there. Besides the oil and gas resources, there are other minerals there. And it gets them a lot closer to those countries that maybe they also might want to intimidate the same way as they're intimidating Taiwan. And getting back to the point about Taiwan and the bully, the CCP bully, I think, in the big scheme of things, we kind of, let dictators do things up to a point. Where is the point? Where do we draw the line? That's what I want to know. Where is it that we say enough is enough? Is it Taiwan, or are we going to let Taiwan go and just say, okay, now it's Japan? There are a lot of other countries in the South Asia or Southeast Asia that we don't have agreements with to protect them. So does that mean that we'll just let the rest of those countries, either get occupied or controlled by the CCP? I want to know, what is our strategy? What is our big picture? What do we want to do? Now, if you read the strategy statement that came out a week or so ago from the Biden administration about the Indo-Pacific arena, and they repeat the same thing that the Trump administration mentioned, is they want to keep the sea lanes open for free trade. That's one of the vital interests of the United States. Well, how does that manifest? How do you say, what does that mean in terms of those countries that are threatened by the PRC?
Yeah, didn't China recently passed a law that allows them to? Haven't they basically been shadowing ships that enter the South China Sea?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is again a case where their intentions are very clear.
Right.
It's just when is the shoe going to drop?
See, the thing is that we see Taiwan as an independent country, but China, PRC, the CCP, they see it as part of China. So getting back to the threat thing, is what they say is they view anything that they do in Taiwan as being an internal to their country, and anybody who interferes with it is interfering in the internal affairs of their country, and therefore they will get the wrath of the PLA. They don't say that about any other place around them. It's Taiwan that they say that. And they're using diplomatic warfare, they're using legal warfare to set the framework under which they can take over Taiwan, because there aren't any countries remaining except a few that recognize even Taiwan. Taiwan has no voice in the UN, so if they are attacked, they can't say anything. There's no place for them to go. Ukraine was able to make a statement in the UN and to request the UN Security Council to meet, but Taiwan can't even do that. They don't have a voice, and so, I think we have a really big issue to deal with, and I think we're just kind of ignoring it.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you bring up the UN Security Council since Russia's currently president of the council. So, like, they could ask them to meet, but there's not anything that they could do about it, really.
Correct. And China is going to support Russia on no matter what they do. Again, if you go back to the 4 February joint statement, Putin's reference to Taiwan, it says the Russian side reaffirms its support for the one China principle, confirms that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China, and opposes any forms of independence of Taiwan. That's in their joint statement. Okay, that's what the Russians are saying. So, I think this is a quid pro quo situation where obviously this was written and signed on the 4th of February, just a few weeks before the invasion of Ukraine. Clearly, they knew what was going to happen. And this is what the CCP wanted Putin to put in the document. And then the other quote is, it says that the sides, the word the sides means Russia and China, believe that certain states, military and political alliance and coalitions seek to obtain, directly or indirectly, unilateral military advantages to the detriment of the security of others, including by employing unfair competition practices, intensify geopolitical rivalry, fuel antagonism and confrontation, and seriously undermine the international security order and global strategic stability. That's the United States. This is the joint statement. The sides oppose further enlargement of NATO and call on the North Atlantic Alliance to abandon its ideological Cold War approaches, to respect sovereignty, security, and interests of other countries, the diversity of their civilizations, cultural and historical backgrounds, and to exercise a fair and objective attitude towards the peaceful development of other states. The sides, Russia and China, stand against the formation of closed block structures and opposing camps in the Asia-Pacific region, and remain highly vigilant about the negative impact of the United States' Indo-Pacific strategy on peace and stability in the region. They're saying here, basically, they're together on the idea of Taiwan. They're together on the idea of not allowing any other country to join NATO. And it's clear to me that they're working together. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a secret annex that talks about military cooperation as well.